Morning campus. Scorchio today, so I thought what we'd concentrate on is using the heat to focus on a little bit of stretching and a little bit of breathing, because we all have to breathe, although being asthmatic all my life, not so easy for me. So often when you find it hard to get your breath, one, it might be just hay fever. Two, the heat, and also if it's thunderstormy, that affects my breathing. So always keep your inhalers. I've not had an asthma attack for years and years and years, and then you just have one. And also I'm fit, and I use my lungs a lot when I'm sort of doing my aerobic exercises, and it can happen to anybody. I remember Andrew Castle, bless him, when I worked with him at GMTV doing the marathon, and he had a really bad asthma attack towards the end of the marathon. So, you know, some top athletes can still have asthma or breathing issues. So, as you're sitting, if you've got a mirror in the house at any point, just check your posture. So I'm relaxed now, but I'm sitting up like this. So when you're collapsed down, when you're slumped, this just closes off the chest. It's sort of, you know, you sinking down. So whenever you're sitting, not when you're watching the telly, prop yourself up. I always say put a pillow or cushion behind you. But when you're sitting and you're focused on doing a little bit of stretching or exercise, sitting tall in the chair. Obviously you can do all of this standing, which works your balance, but I'm going to be focusing, that was one of my cats, focusing on sitting tall. And then the next thing to check is this. Nearly all of us do this elevation of the shoulders. So when I'm not thinking about it, when I'm worrying, that happens. And I also grind my teeth in the sleep, and those muscles, masseter muscles, down the neck and shoulders, they sort of get all clogged up and tense. And again, that doesn't help you breathe in. So if you put one hand around your heart, or where your heart might be, this is like your clavicle, and try and relax your shoulders down and just focus on your breathing. If it helps you to close your eyes a bit, and you'll probably feel, I'm exaggerating, my chest isn't doing this, inhale and exhale. So when you do this yourself, obviously if you're watching this, you can't close your eyes, I've just realised. So inhale, exhale, you'll feel a rise and fall of the chest. So that's how most of us breathe. When you get upset, my throat gets really tight and I'm breathing from this bit. It's sort of shallow breaths. So also that's not great for the shoulders. So if you then put your hand on your tummy, you might feel your tummy going in and out a little bit when you breathe. And we're not forcing the breath in, but just be aware of that. You might feel a little bit of that. Then bring your hands to the outside of your ribs, breathing in and breathing out. You might feel a gentle, inhale, exhale, this lateral breathing into the ribs. And then put your hands on your lower belly. Now, nearly every woman I know spends their life holding this in and sort of pulling it in, because as a society, I think we've all been brainwashed into not letting that just hang out. Not talking about the muscles underneath. It's like we need a layer of fat, particularly if you're my age and postmenopausal. Those fat cells hold estrogen. But put your hands on the belly there, relax the shoulders. Is there any movement there? Sometimes there's not. And drawing the air deep into the lungs aren't there, but deep into the belly is what we talk about in some yoga classes, is deep breath. You know, drawing it into the bottom of the lungs. The lungs sort of probably end about there. So most of us do shallow breathing. Few of us do that. If you've done Pilates, they talk a lot about this lateral breathing, and very few of us, unless you do a breathing practice of yoga, draw the breath in any deeper. So I often do the breath in line with the stretches. So shoulders, I could breathe in and breathe out. So for me, as long as you're breathing in any session, I'm going to keep doing my shoulder stretches as I'm talking, but you can focus on the breath in as the shoulders come up and the breath out as they come down. So we're just exaggerating the shoulder roll and making it in time with the breathing. So anybody who's done yoga knows that the breath almost comes first. You start the breath in and then you start the move. If you can, and I find it very difficult with my hay fever and asthma to breathe in and out through the nose, fantastic. The breath in through the nose has got little hairs in, quite a few hairs in the case of my husband. They're sort of growing out at the moment like tentacles. So the older you get, the more nose hair you seem to be aware of. That filters air. It warms it into the lungs, which sounds mad on a day like this, that the air would need to be warmed before it gets into that. It also moistens the air. And I'm a mouth breather. I've got a terrible habit, and partly because I've got this tooth guard in the night, I tend to wake up and my throat's really dry because my mouth has, opened in the night and I breathe through that, If you can breathe through the nose. Obviously, if you're stuffed up or hay fever, it might not be possible. Now we're going to reverse that circle. So we're not doing very much, but just listen. But what you're doing is focusing on the breath. So we're breathing in and breathing out. So nice small circles if your shoulders ache. Just breathing in and breathing out. And then just give them a little shake and relax. If it's comfortable for you to bring your hands here, please do. So shoulder wise, that might be just a bit too much, but if you can bring your hands round to the side of the ribs, and now I want you to sit tall, so focus on your posture, bringing the shoulders away from your ears. And now let's focus on a deep breath in and let it out. You can breathe in and out through the nose if you want. So I'm going to exaggerate my fingers here. My lungs aren't exactly doing this, but as I breathe in and as I breathe out, you might feel a little dizzy, a head rush, or a little bit dizzy. So if you're a little bit nervous of that, you do this in an armchair rather than a high back chair like I've got. So if you need the arms to feel safe, that's absolutely fine. Advanced people can do this standing up. I quite like to do it sitting, but as long as you're sitting nice and tall. So we're expanding that thoracic spine. So sitting sideways on, your ribs come around the back as well. So what we're going to do now is, I'll sit sideways on so you can see, is we're going to exaggerate the push forward and the push back. So, so I call this in class the figurehead, like you're a figurehead on a warship. And as the elbows come back, allow your ribs to expand as well. So you're lifting the chest, that draws the air in a bit, but we're also thinking about letting the ribs expand out and just collapsing down. And then rest your hands on the thighs and just squeeze up to the ears, breathe in, and then let it all out. Squeeze the shoulders up to the ears and then just give them a gentle shake. Might as well shake the hands as well. Not done very much with them, but we might as well give the shoulders a little bit of a rest. Lovely. So I'm also going to just bring my chin to the chest and back up again to release those tight muscles on the back of my neck. And I'm also going to do the look over my shoulder, really gently, only as far as your muscles want to go. You might hear some lovely creaks. Mine grunch and crack and complain. As long as there's no pain, that should feel all right. And then just lean the shoulder over just to where it wants to go, ear towards the shoulder, but you're not forcing. It's just like a sunflower, following the sun, really gentle. When you do move slowly, particularly in the heat, I think it just helps calm down the whole system. It's called homeostasis. It's the body's natural balance position. I think I achieved it once in 1978, and cider might have been involved. So we're going to bring the arms up on an inhale now and bring them down. So again, we're expanding the lungs upwards, well, the ribs upwards, which draws the breath in. Shoulders don't like that, just rest them down and just Shrug them up and down. So a nice inhale and exhale. And then put one hand on your heart and one hand on your tummy. So we're not going to do any physical moves with this. We're just focusing on the breath coming in. If you can, in through the nasal passages down the back of the neck. And I want you to think of the whole of the lungs as two balloons that you're going to inflate right to the bottom. So I'd like this hand to be moving out if you can. If you can't, as long as you're breathing, that's fine. So nice deep breath in and let it out. And let it out. So I'm going to continue talking to sort of teach you through it, but I'd just like you to focus on the air going in right to the base of your lungs. So that might be drawing it in from the belly and then letting it go. And think of all the muscles softening as you breathe out. Just a couple more. Again, don't worry too much if you feel dizzy, just stop doing it. Deep breath in. And out. Lovely. And then just give the shoulders a bit of a shake. If you'd like to do it with counts, you might start with breathing in for 2 and out for 2. So in and out. And then build it up gently. So if you want to then breathe in, say 4 counts. So in for 4, 3, 2, 1. And out for 4, 3, 2, 1. When I'm talking, I can't do the breath with you. So even though I'm talking, I'm not doing the breath in the same way, but it is a... goes very quiet when I shut up, doesn't it? So try that. If you do get a bit lightheaded, just sit for a few seconds, and then you might want to experiment with breathing in for 4, holding for 2, breathe out for 4, hold for 2. And there's a reset button that I did a course on this this week, a reset button that after you've done some breathing practice, if you do a sort of comedy cough, it just sort of resets the lungs. And I know some of the techniques they were saying with respiration problems with COVID and recovering from that, they do a breathing practice where it involves at the end of what breathing practice you've done, you do a at the end, which is sort of a little lung clearing. So if you go online, there's loads of videos of yoga breathing and different techniques. You can do it one nostril, then the other nostril. They've all got different names. I just say do what works for you. For me, with the asthma, doing any sort of gentle breathing and just having a moment to yourself where you're not sort of doing lots of things. If you find it easier to do that. If you find it easier to do the hand on the belly or the hand on the ribs, just experiment and see what works for you. And we'll see you next time. Happy breathing.